What is up, everybody? We are back. Hey, I tried. That was close to TD, man. We're back over here on the NFC North Roundtable. I'm hosting this show, so I have the opportunity to kick people out of the studio if y'all didn't know. So this is a great opportunity, man. So, I'm saying, like, we can kind of move this our direction how we want the show to go. But yeah, man, we're here for the NFC North Roundtable. We have the representatives that you know and love. So we're going to jump right into it, man. And we're going to start off with our guy who's at the bottom. Unfortunately, this has been way too darn often, though. I'm going to get him on here, though. Nick, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Matt Eberflus has to go. We have a ton of injuries. Got the locker room's lost. But guess what? We're still 4-4. We're going to come back. It's all a comeback right now. The new day starts for the Chicago Bears today. And also, sorry, chat. Sorry that we were late. We had some technical difficulties. Good to see you, beautiful people. Dion, great introduction. Excited to get things off today.
Appreciate you, Nick. Nick, I like the jacket. That looks good. That looks clean. I think it looks like it's popping out a little bit there. I see you. All right, we're going to move over to the Vikings because they're next up in the divisional race here. And we got Lupagus, who's in for our guy, One Bar today. Man, it's good to see you on here. Always love the background. It's bright. It makes me think of Christmas. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Actually, we're second, but I appreciate you putting me on.
Okay. Well, look, this is what happens. I don't know.
Beauty before age. It's fine, but I'm feeling great, man. Vikings are 6-2. We got back in the win column there. It wasn't always pretty, but we got the job done. And now we're second in the NFC North, and we have a very favorable schedule coming up. So it's a great time to be a Vikings fan. Give me a skull in the comments if you guys are watching.
Yeah, he deserves a skull for that because I completely butchered that. So yeah, so just let's keep it moving. We got Bass up next, man.
Name right though.
I did. See, I was really locked into pronouncing right, so I absolutely messed it up. It's good to see you here, though. And we got Bass in the building. Bass, how you doing, man?
The 1 week that you're host, it has to be this one, doesn't it?
Man.
It just has to.
Man, I mean, it is
Unfortunate
week.
Hey, for you it is, but for the Packers fans, an unfortunate week. We got a bye coming up, but kind of similar to what you guys said, still 6-3. That would lead some divisions. That would lead the NFC West. So it's not all doom and gloom. The loss sucks, 100%. We'll talk about it, but hey, 6-3 bye week, fix some things, and then we got the Bears, and me and Nick are definitely hyped for that. So ready for that.
Okay. So we got some good ones this week. Before we get too far into the show, though, man, this stream is being brought to you by BetUS. So use that code YouTube150 to get a 150% deposit match on your first deposit, 125% on your next 2 deposits with that code. Taking a look at the website right now, as TD does, man, let's take a look at these upcoming games. So first off, Minnesota at Jacksonville. We got a 4.5 spread. Love a guess. How you feeling about this one early?
I'm feeling good. I was actually kind of worried because Jacksonville's been playing pretty well lately, but the more you delve into it, they're not very good. Trevor Lawrence is hurt, so yeah, I love this in this game.
Yeah, that one feels like it has the chance to definitely move, especially if Trevor Lawrence does not play. And then, as Bass said, let's scroll down a little bit. Chicago, New England. Okay, wait, time out here. Chicago, New England, man. I don't know what the heck's going on with New England, but for whatever reason, there's like a lot of buzz that this game may actually be kind of interesting. like New England's going to give you all a run this weekend. Nick, is there truth to that?
No. Bears are on a 9-game home winning streak. They're going to bounce back. Bears are going to win this game.
Okay, that's good confidence there. And then Bass, I'm not even lying to you. I don't even know who you play. Do you play this weekend?
Bye week.
Okay, so that's why we're
gonna win the bye week. Don't worry, we're favored.
All right,
pregame.
Yeah, I'm just be honest. I have no idea. Look, last week, man, we handled business last week, so I'm completely on to last week. We'll talk about that in a second. But as you can see, our Lions, man, they got Lions Houston Sunday Night Football to cap off, which should be a good weekend of football. So we know how this one's gonna go. I don't need to spend much time here. 3.5 is not enough. It should be like 11.5. That's just how every game's been at this point. So, yeah, man. With that being said, YouTube 150. That is the code. Now, let's start to dive into these. Well, before we get to recaps, I want to do something. I don't know if we did it last week, but I want to make sure that we do this here. I'll start with you first, Bass. We'll kind of roll like this just because. Injury updates. You're going into a bye week. What are we looking at for the outlook of your roster?
Well, as you know, you being a Lions fan, you just played us without Jair Alexander, Evan Williams. Those are 2 guys that hopefully will be available against the Bears. Not that it mattered too much against the Lions. You guys didn't have to pass too much, but those are 2 guys that do transform this defense. So I'm hoping they'll be available to come back in week 11. Outside of that, I mean, there's nothing too crazy in terms of injury report. I think obviously Jordan Love is always going to be a concern. I think this bye week is coming at a great time because it seems like the Packers continue to just kind of rush him back, kind of force him into the situation where then it handcuffs our offense. So that's definitely a problem. So hopefully this extra week will allow that groin, allow that left knee to heal even more. I know they're planning on activating Marshawn Lloyd as a third running back at this point. Outside of that, I mean, I'll touch base on the Preston Smith news as well. We traded away him to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It came out this morning that a couple weeks ago he requested a trade. He wasn't fitting into the 4-3 scheme. He likes his 3-4 scheme better, which the Steelers run. He probably will fit in pretty well there. I think it's a win-win for both sides. Preston Smith wanted out, and the Packers save a lot of money. They save $2 million off the cap this year, $7.6 million off the cap in 2025, but more importantly, $18 million off the cap in 2026. And this is for a 32-year-old edge player. He was our oldest player outside of Brandon McManus, so I think it was a good idea to finally move on.
Yeah, I mean that one just seemed like it made sense when because we had just played you, so I was up on this one. And moving off of him, just where you guys are at, like this definitely was not about what you guys got in return. It felt just more so about opportunity for the young guys. Is that what this looks like for you?
Yeah, I wasn't even worried at all that it was a 7th-round pick. A lot of people were worried about that just because it's like, oh, Preston Smith is worth more than that. But when you take a look at the contract, you guys know how trades work. When someone has like a bigger contract, they're not worth as much and whatnot. So that just makes sense. But yeah, also Lucas Van Ness was already getting more snaps than him. JJ Enagbare has been getting more snaps than him. We saw like a steady decline in his snap count over the last 3 weeks. So it just all kind of made sense.
Okay. Give a shout out to the member here real quick. Jake, the Minnesota sports fan, became a YouTube member. We see you. Let's move to Minnesota, man. Lupagus, man. What do we got going on over there with Minnesota?
Yeah, so the big news, Blake Cashman was limited today, which is a huge step in the right direction. This defense is different when he's on the field. His pass coverage is elite, and he's in on every big play that we make. Not having them there has been a huge detriment to this defense, and a reason why we haven't looked like ourselves the last 3 weeks. The other news is we have a new kicker, I guess, because, why wouldn't the Minnesota Vikings keep on getting injuries? Will Reichard, Willie Long balls, with the call with one more and Lupagus show. It was weird. Like, no one's really sure when he was hurt. Some said it was in warm-ups. Some said it was after the first kick, and his special teams coach comes out and says, no, he was fine. He just missed his kicks. He was clearly in pain second half of that game doing his kickoffs. Now we got John Parker Romo, a guy who has never kicked in the NFL. I think he's been part of the Lions and the Bears practice squads. He's been around. So he's our new kicker. And we also have a new long snapper, because why the hell would your long snapper be healthy? Andrew DePaolo on the short-term IR. And we signed some dude from the Lions. I forgot his name. So I'm very curious to see how the kicking game works for the Vikings down there in Jacksonville this Sunday.
Okay. And I just want to remind the people in the chat, man, I do have the ability to put you in a timeout, so let's not be talking crazy about the Lions. Hey, Nick, man, look, you guys moved off Khalil Herbert. Like, is that the move that you were hoping for when it comes to the trade deadline?
I've been saying that we should have moved on from Khalil Herbert when we made him inactive every week after Houston. I mean, 8 rushes, 16 yards, 1 rushing touchdown this year. And a guy that's been a pretty good running back and could have been our running back 1 last year if it wasn't for Deontay Foreman having a few big games. I mean, very solid player, end of his rookie contract year. Bengals got a steal, in my personal opinion, with a 7th-round pick for the player that we know Herbert is, but because he hasn't done anything this year, that's why we got him for that. I was a little disappointed that it was a 7th, but it's better than nothing instead of just letting him walk, kind of like we did with David Montgomery. So worked out, got another pick. We need to build through the trenches, and we need as many picks as possible next year.
I want to real quick throw this back to Lupagus, because I just had a question. So for trade deadline, I didn't see really any buzz with Minnesota, but I was hearing fans, like when we were kind of getting to that time where there was a lot of consideration, like should they be after a cornerback? Did you feel like they should have made a move during the trade deadline?
Well, I mean, we did make 2 moves. We got Cam Akers in there. We got Cam Robinson, new left tackle. I kind of felt like they were going to be done. There was talk about a D tackle. I mean, there's a lot of steam with Dexter Lawrence. We were all ready to go all in for him, but I think he was unattainable. Then Delvin Tomlinson kind of got some late heat. So that was kind of the position that seemed to get most of the traction was D tackle, but I'm not surprised they didn't do a move at the deadline. They already made 2 moves, and we don't really have any picks next year. So. Okay.
All right. Well, sounds good. So I don't really care what order we do this in, to be honest. I think we should just go right to Nick on this one, because I'm gonna be honest, Nick. I was a believer. I was a believer this last week, and I thought you guys were gonna smoke them. And just looking up at the final score, I was like, what happened? You guys scored 9 points. That shocked me. I was shocked. You guys scored 9 points against Arizona. Nick, do you guys want to be this? I'll start with you first, Nick. Let's try that. Nick, I want to start with you first, man. Takeaways from whatever the heck happened there. What happened? Let us know.
The second the Bears walked on the field, they looked scared. There was no confidence. The defense didn't look like they wanted to be out there. It wasn't the same energy that we're used to for this entire season, because entering this game, 13 games in a row with 21 or less allowed. Obviously, they gave up 29. They broke it. Not a good place for the Chicago Bears to be. But the defense overall.
Crazy work. It's crazy.
Someone go to the bathroom?
No, I'm just pouring.
Oh,
I just muted. I was pouring.
I was like, I know we're pissing on the Bears, but man, you wanted to actually do it.
Literally pissing on him right now.
No, so anyway, like this Bears team, the defense was playing lights out for the last technically 2 seasons. I mean, almost a full season of 21 or less allowed. And they just couldn't stop anything that Arizona threw at them, no pun intended. They were able to stop Marvin Harrison Jr., which I think was a big win for them. But the Bears' rushing defense just continues to fall in the rankings. They were once ranked 6th earlier this year. Now they're ranked at 14th after a huge game by the Arizona Cardinals. Just frustrating. And what really took the life out of them, that the Bears were down 9-14, driving downfield. They gave the ball to Arizona for 15 more seconds, and then Arizona scores a touchdown at the end of the half. Or I'm sorry, it was 9-12. Then they scored at the end of the half. Just really frustrating stuff from the team overall. The offense on top of it, too. The offensive line got banged up big time. They walked into the game without Braxton Jones, Karan Amagaji. They went to a guy, that Jake Curran, who's a third stringer that barely made this roster. So the offensive line just in bad condition. That led Caleb Williams getting 6 sacks. The couple of things that I want to call out, though, that just seemed like this team didn't want to play was one, earlier in the week, Tyreek Stevenson was told he was going to be benched. He had to walk away from practice for a little bit, come back. That obviously ticked a lot of people off. But the thing that just makes my blood boil is, why did Matt Eberflus keep Caleb Williams out there down 20 points with 5 minutes left? It made absolutely zero sense why they kept him out there, because then at the end of the game, after getting sacked twice in a row by one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL, by the way, he walks up, grabbing his hamstring, limping off, should have never been put in that situation. And now Caleb's practicing. He's apparently fine at Hallis Hall, but it's the fact that your coach let that happen. So just really frustrating stuff overall from this team. They showed no effort on offense. Shane Waldron was plain scared, and that's why the Bears got crushed by the Cardinals 29-9.
Nick, man, just a quick question, because I know coming into the year you were pretty excited about Shane Waldron, so I just wondered, like, obviously the Eberflus thing, I hear that everywhere now, like, it seems like it's probably not going to end very well, and also where you guys are at, like, this is where, you know, you guys need to rack some wins together here. What are your thoughts on Shane Waldron? Like, is this a 1-year kind of thing? Is he stuck with Eberflus, or are you not happy with how he's been doing as the OC?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, he did good against bad teams. He did good against the Jaguars. He did good against the Panthers. He actually did okay against the LA Rams. And then against the Washington Commanders, he started well, and he just hasn't found himself. So it's literally like he left his playbook in D.C. after the first quarter. So I'm really frustrated overall with Shane Waldron. You know, you look at the Washington Commanders, where we interviewed Cliff Kingsbury twice and could have had him for Caleb Williams, his offensive coordinator at USC. It's just ugly stuff. Matt Eberflus has shown that he can't bring in coordinator talent, because either he has to fire them for stuff that they do off the field, poor performance that he has to fire them anyway. I mean, Luke Getsy was canned twice in 10 months. He was canned by the Bears, and then he's canned by the Las Vegas Raiders. So clearly just talent is not his thing from a coordinator standpoint. Eberflus has to have someone below him that isn't an alpha, and Eberflus isn't an alpha himself. So it's just very frustrating stuff. I'm over Shane Waldron. I'm sure the way that Shane Waldron could save himself, in my eyes, was that he'd have to go the next 5 games with over 300 yards of passing alone. And it's not going to happen. His game plan's ridiculous. He calls terrible plays. And until he connects with Chris Morgan, our offensive line coach, nothing's going to change.
Okay. Actually, real quick, though, I just wonder, offensive line update. Better or worse? Where are we at with it? Because I saw Nate Davis, his name was floating around trade deadline. How are we feeling versus beginning of the season?
I don't know why.
I don't know. I saw the name, though.
Anyone
It's
that's
up there.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be someone doing Ryan Poles a favor. No, Nate Davis wasn't going anywhere. He's going to sit on his ass, and he's going to get $2 million next year. Nate Davis is terrible. The Bears' offensive line right now, even though he might end up playing this week because we're that banged up, Braxton Jones was, Braxton Jones was out of practice today. Karan Amagaji. So our 2 left tackles were both out. Not a good sign right there. On top of that, too, our right guard, Matt Pryor, was a little banged up. Not good. But we do have some good news from the offensive line, though. Ryan Bates might come back, but that means he's going to have to play a guard position because we're so down on guard right now. I'd love for him to play center, but yeah, the offensive line is just an absolute mess for the Bears. And then Darnell Wright, apparently has an MCL strain, and they don't know when he'll be back.
Yikes. Lupagus, man, what'd you think watching this football game?
Well, a couple things. I actually thought it was kind of ironic that the Bears were playing the Cardinals because I think the Bears showed us who we thought they were, to me at least, because I think that is a team that is still a year or two away from being serious contenders in the NFC North. They have a lot of talent. They're just not there yet. They're poorly coached. So I think they're still a couple years away. But I was kind of shocked. Like, I was impressed what they did in Washington against that very good Washington Commanders offense, holding them to just field goals. So I'm like, holy shit, okay, the Bears – and then they let the Cardinals run all over them. Something called Imari Demercado bust off a 53-yard touchdown run. I've never heard of him before. So I was shocked by that. Also, hey, Nick, I want to ask you about the whole DJ Moore walking off the field thing. What the hell is going on there?
Yeah,
did he think Caleb Williams went out of bounds? Is this a coach losing his team? What's going on with that?
No, so it was confirmed today by DJ Moore himself and Matt Eberflus that he twisted his ankle. And if you do watch the replay, you can see when he went to go plant his foot, he kind of leaned the wrong way. He went over to the sideline, immediate trainers, wrapped up his ankle. He played a little bit more in the game, but he didn't play that much more. He had one more catch. It was a short route, but could he have rolled his ankle because he just doesn't want to play anymore this year? Absolutely. He could have given up on the team, but it was confirmed it was an injury. So trying to take it light, but yeah, it wasn't a good look, especially at least you could have stood out there and just been a body blocking somebody. It's ridiculous.
Well, I'll say a couple nice things. Like Roma Dunze had a nice game, so it's good to see the rookie, on your, for having over 100 yards. What was their nice thing I was going to say? Maybe that was it.
Tory Taylor, our punter, our great boarding king.
You guys got a hell of a punter on your hands there. But yeah, I was just surprised. And maybe the Cardinals a little bit better than we thought they were. This does feel like the Cardinals team is a team that's starting to come into their own, find themselves. Maybe a little bit better than everybody thought. So there's maybe some of that going on. But yeah, and also when you lose a game like the way the Bears lost in Washington, that can mess you up the next week. It's an emotional game. It's an emotional loss. And maybe you're not ready to come over, overcome that in 1 week. But yeah, I was just surprised really by the run defense. It was horrible.
Yeah, one thing I do want to add to that is that it was the Bears came out today and did say that it was super emotional overall. Like Caleb Williams said himself, he's like, I got to get over the previous game a lot better next time. So nice to say that. I mean, the team is young. The team has a lot of potential, but at the end of the day, it's poor coaching and it all starts at the top. I actually had a chance to speak to a former Chicago Bear that was on the team last year. And he was like, yeah, head coaching effort is not there. And I was like, ooh, that's a big shot. So starts at the top.
Nick, are you able to say who that was, or is that like a...
He asked to stay confidential.
Okay.
But
I didn't know if it was a show or something. Okay.
No. Yeah, he was like, keep that confidential. But I was like, well, I'm sure you're in a better situation. He goes, way better situation. So good for him.
Yikes. Okay, Bass, what'd you think, Bass?
Yeah, kind of the same. Last week in our predictions, I actually predicted Arizona, I think by 1 point. I didn't think it would be something like this, like a 20-point deficit. And the reason I predicted Arizona is it seemed like their energy was trending upwards and the Bears was trending downwards, and that continues. And the one thing, when watching this game, what I really took away from it was it seemed like a lot of the early season struggles came back for the Chicago Bears, right? Like Caleb Williams, not that efficient, only 5.3 per attempt, and they got sacked 6 times. Like the past few weeks before Washington, when they started, going a little bit of a tear there, I think he was more in rhythm. He wasn't getting sacked as much. The offense just looked like it was flowing better. They were getting DeAndre Swift going heavily, and the Cardinals did a good job stopping him here, 3.2 average. I did like to see what I saw from Roma Dunze, but it seems like everyone else still kind of not really on the same page. Like Keenan Allen made a couple nice catches, but other than that, I feel like they're still just not on the same page, and Keenan Allen looks like he definitely lost a step. I don't know what your opinion on that is, Nick. But overall, I agree with Lupagus. I think the Cardinals kind of like on an upwards trend. I was going to ask about the DJ Moore thing as well, because that's just like crazy to me, and I get it. Like if you did injure yourself, and I also saw the argument like if he steps out of bounds, then he's an ineligible receiver anyway. So it's like take yourself out of the play, don't make yourself an option. But it didn't give me the mentality of like, oh, I'm hurt, I'm trying to help the team by not becoming an option. It gave me I'm giving up, I'm walking with my back turned, all like with like a somber attitude. And then I think I saw what was it, the podcast or something the day after, and they asked if Eberflus lost locker room or something, and DJ Moore said, "I'm not going to say no." Quote me if I'm, or correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. You're muted, but I want to hear your thoughts on that. That was interesting. I think if they go into this week and can't beat the Patriots, do they fire Eberflus? Like, like, do they have to, right? Nick, you're muted, by the way, so if you want to rebuttal that.
Yeah, no. So starting with the DJ Moore thing, it is confirmed. He said that on 670 The Score. He's like, I don't want to say he's lost the locker room, but the way he kind of said it, you could tell over the phone he was kind of smirking when he said it.
Yeah.
So, and he showed frustration all year. I mean, the guy just signed a 4-year extension for big money, and he's barely getting targeted. Also, the Bears, 1 target for Cole Kmet in the last 2 games. You just paid that guy too. Just showing his frustration as well. I mean, the Cardinals, the one thing I'll say is that the Cardinals had the hardest schedule for the first 8 games, and they still were 500. So honestly, walking into that game, I was a little bit nervous because they definitely can play. Baz, you had another question though. I want to make sure.
If they lost to New England this week, like, do they? Not do you want them to fire him, but like, do you actually think that happens?
So right now, from Hallis Hall, there was a few people there today that got to talk to. They, again, take it with a grain of salt. Some of these guys are very small reporters, but they were at Hallis Hall, so they obviously heard something. But apparently, the word is out of Hallis Hall right now is that if Matt Eberflus loses to the New England Patriots, it'll put the front office over the edge, and it'll be the first midseason firing for a Bears head coach. So. But I'm taking it with a very small grain of salt. It is a legitimate reporter, a good friend of mine. But yeah, I was like, that's the only one I'm seeing for it. But if it's true, absolutely would be very ecstatic, because it would send a message to this team that Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren aren't playing around anymore. That they brought change to the Chicago Bears, and I think that's what I mean. Look at the Saints. Look what the Raiders did. I would love nothing more than a midseason firing. The only midseason firings we've had as coordinators, and last year it was because there was a FBI raid at the coordinator's house for some very disgusting things. So, yeah.
Nick, I got a question for you. Do you want a veteran head coach? I'm sorry, I don't mean to take over, Dion, but do you think this is a team that needs a veteran head coach, a guy who has some experience, maybe is a hard ass? I feel like that's what they need.
Yeah, so it's funny. I did a tweet a couple days ago saying that I kind of wanted Brian Flores to be the Bears' next head coach because he does have head coach experience. But the more I've learned about him, stay away. Like, keep him as a defensive coordinator. So, well, one, you guys can keep him as your defensive coordinator, but as a head coach in Miami, just some of the stories just weren't very good. But yeah, I do. The only individual head coach that I will take a risk on as a rookie head coach, because the Bears have done that the last 3 of the last 4 times, is Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator of the Lions. Dion knows him all too well. Fantastic coach. He's going to want big money. I don't know if the McCaskies will pay him, but he's the only rookie potential candidate that I would take. The other guy that I would want the Bears to consider, and I've gotten a little riff for it, but coaches learn. You go back to college, you get a little bit more experience. He's also had a great success with quarterbacks, is Cliff Kingsbury of the Washington Commanders. I wanted Dan Quinn last year, and I think that he's done a fantastic job with the Commanders. When the opportunity arose, if the Bears, or 2 years, was it 2 years ago that they signed Dan Quinn, or was it last year?
So.
Whenever Dan Quinn was available, whenever Dan Quinn was available from the Cowboys, I really wanted the Bears to go after him because he's a proven head coach. The Super Bowl game, obviously that's on his resume, but I think the Bears, this locker room, this team, this track record that this team has had, they need a head coach with experience that knows this game, that knows how to coach in the league. And this Matt Eberflus experiment just really isn't working right now. 0-17 on Sunday games. Ridiculous.
Nick, quick percentage game,
away
just
game.
because I think
away
it'd be
game.
fun.
Away game. Sorry. What was that?
Jared with I want to play just a quick percentage game. How much percent blame would you put on Ryan Poles? I feel like he's kind of getting overlooked at this. Do you have any blame for Brian Poles or no? Any percent?
I do. I give Poles about 33% of the blame because of the fact that his offensive line management has been god awful. Like, he put way too much trust in a lot of these guys. When your left tackle is a former 5th rounder and a mid guy, and we had the opportunity to get one of the top left tackles in the draft, Olu Fushanu. There was a couple other guys that the Bears could have gotten with the number 9 pick. I love Roma Dunze. I think he's fantastic, but we had Keenan Allen and DJ Moore already on the roster. You had a Tyler Scott that was starting to show some things, and now Scott's not getting any playing time, and the offense can't even get going or get to Rome because of the fact that Caleb Williams is running for his life every single time. So I do blame Ryan Poles a little bit, or a third of the percentage as to why. But at the same time, he's done a really good job building this team from the absolute ground up, good books for the next foreseen future. and now we have 9 picks entering the next draft. Like, it's exciting, but 5 of those picks are after the 4th round. So trying to take it with a grain of salt. But if Ian Cunningham becomes a general manager elsewhere, the Bears get a 3rd round pick this year and next year.
All right. Give a shout to Jared Brewski with the 2-piece. I see you. Appreciate you. He says, hey, Dion, do you think the Lions are dirty? Actually, I saw someone early in the chat try to ask Bask if he thinks the Lions are dirty. I don't think the Lions are dirty. I don't know if they're I guess probably him flipping off the fans. Maybe that's okay. Well, I don't think that makes you dirty, but maybe that's just like that's not maybe the best thing to do. But I don't think that's dirty. And the hit, definitely. I don't think we're dirty for that hit. You know what I mean? Bask, you got a take on that?
Yeah, it's not the flipping off, honestly. I've seen Bakhtiari do it. I've seen AJ Hawk back in the day do it. I think that's all in fun. Like and then you see the Packers fan flipping off Amon-Ra at the end of the game. So that happens, right? I think my main concern was the when Brian Branch made that hit. Brian Branch not habitually a dirty player. I think he's a great player. But at the same time, if you watched the back end of that play, there's a replay, like you see like the start of it where James Houston's twisting Jordan Love's ankle and like kind of pressing his upper body down into his ankle. And Lions fans sit here and act like it never happened or like he wasn't actually doing that, which he was. And it was really no different than the Herbert ankle issue the week before. It just happened that no one saw it and it wasn't talked about because of the Brian Branch situation on the field. I think we can all agree that that play deserved a penalty. I think the argument is ejection or not, right? That's an argument to be had. I think with both of those things happening on that play, it makes you wonder, like leading with your helmet after it is a bang play, but leading with your helmet after you can clearly see the ball bounce off of Bo Melton's chest, right? There's so many head injuries in the NFL. We obviously don't want that. We see players like Tua that could be out of the league in a year because of things like this. So I think NFL has to also set examples with that sort of thing. But yeah, those are the 2 things in that game that I saw. Plus, on top of things in years past, there's been kind of a debate on Kirby Joseph. You see one of your favorite players of all time, Dion, I think, Matthew Stafford, call him dirty in a game and saying it's on the tape. You're dirty, you know it. So I think there's some argument to be had there. And I get the counter argument of, well, if you can't hit high, then you got to hit low. And that's usually what Kirby Joseph does on bigger tight ends. But he's also injured Hawkinson. He's also injured Tyler Higbee and what you would consider an iffy tackle. So there's my view on it. And I know there's the whole conspiracy with Dan Campbell, with the Saints and whatnot. I don't think that's it. I think generally there's some questionable things I've seen.
Okay. Yeah, honestly, I haven't seen the James Houston thing personally, so I didn't know there was a thing. I know I've seen stuff like that before, and I'm sure the clip is bad. I hate that stuff. Like you said with the Herbert one, like that stuff just I get it. Like I could see how in the heat of the moment you get fired up as a player. You know what I mean? But like that's never a thing because someone does that back to your teammate. You're like, bro, what are we doing here? This is not football at this point. We're doing too much.
Exactly.
So I didn't see that, but bad. Whatever that was, bad. On top of that, though, the Kirby Joseph one, that one I think specifically came up after like you said, the Higbee crossed the middle of the field, went low, kind of upended the guy right after that play. And then for me, honestly, the Brian Branch one really wasn't that bad for me, just personally. I think the issue with Brian Branch is that's how he tackles, like a lot of times. But at the same time, the speed that he was coming in with, he kind of turned his shoulder, but he didn't drop himself. He kind of stayed at that same level. Bang, bang. Like you said, I'm cool with the flag. I had no issue with the 15-yard penalty. Didn't think he should have been thrown out. But they threw him out. It is what it is. Like I didn't make, I guess, too much of it. I didn't think he should be thrown out for that. I don't even know what the Dan Campbell conspiracy is. Is that like a thing going around on X or something?
It was like, oh, well, he was part of the Saints during Bountygate. I'm like, that's kind of a reach.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of a reach. I think he's just a physical coach. I think he just teaches physicality, and that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, look, I understood the Kirby thing, and the weird thing was I don't even think we were flagged. We weren't flagged or anything after the Kirby thing. And actually, one of the things that we talked about, like it was the weekend after, whatever it was, about that was like Branch got thrown out of game, got 30 yards and penalties. Well, he flipped some guys off. I didn't know that live, but Kirby Joseph on the flip side, he does that. That play feels a lot more dangerous to me, and obviously he doesn't get anything for that. So it's a we obviously know it's fast. I don't think. I haven't seen the James Houston thing, so I don't really know what to comment on this, right? Like
I could
making a
show
dirty
you
play
it.
versus a dirty team. You know what I mean? Like that's 2 different things. So yeah, probably just an ugly football play that shouldn't have been made. It wasn't a football play then. That would be my assumption based on that. But
yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm glad we got that out. Okay, so we are on to Lupagus, man, and I got to be honest. y'all handled business, man. And I thought here's where I struggle with it, because I thought coming in that the Colts were going to be able to run the football on you guys. I was like, oh, they're going to run the ball all over you. And that did not happen. Y'all shut that down. Your defense was like, this defense is really good. And it kind of felt like you guys kind of like settled back in. It's like, hold up, bro. We lost a couple games, but we're still an elite type of defense. You shut down the run game. Made Flacco pass. Dude looked a little bit lost there. And then on top of that, outside of playing really well defensively, Justin Jefferson against these cornerbacks that are like, okay, they probably don't match up that well. That was my concern. Absolutely cooked those guys, it felt like. So I thought that was a really strong win for Minnesota. I mean, I was hoping y'all were going to lose, but that was a really strong win, especially what they proved defensively. Lubbock, what'd you take away from that one?
Well, I'm going to start on defense. I was going to start on offense, but I'm going to start on defense because to me it was a weird defensive performance from the Vikings because we're so used to seeing the big play, like, you know, the sacks early or the Andrew Van Ginkel, you know, pick six, or that wasn't happening. We weren't getting to the statue who is Joe Flacco. And then the first drive, like they went right down the field. They had the horrible, they botched a handoff. Jonathan Taylor, it was right in his chest. Like he fed the alligator like you're supposed to do. And it bounced right off his belly. So that was bizarre. We got a freebie on that one. And as we're watching the game, we live streamed it. And it was like in the third quarter, I started looking at the stats because it felt like the Colts were moving the ball. I'm like, shit, they haven't done anything. Like we were shutting down the run game. Harrison Phillips woke up, and Harrison Smith too. Like he had a bad play early. Then also I think he just turned the corner there, and he you know was being lights out. So and then we got the sacks late. Like we got the sacks. You know, we got 3 sacks on the final drive. So they came late. We couldn't sack Matt Stafford a week ago. And you got this other statue, old quarterback, and Joe Flacco. And their part of this is like I was a little bit confused, or you know, I wasn't sure how much it was the defense or how much Joe Flacco, because he just looked off. He looked like he wasn't interested. He looked tired. I never saw him blink. Every time they showed him the camera, he just was doing this the whole time, and he never blinked. So it was really weird. So I'm glad we got the 3 sacks in the end. Jonathan Grenard, I don't know if you guys seen it. Like he literally sacked Joe Flacco, looked at the camera and smiled. Absolutely fantastic. I love Jonathan Grenard. Dallas Turner actually got some run, which he hasn't had in a couple weeks. I know Van Ginkel had a little bit of an injury, but overall, yeah, I was happy with the defense. I was, like I said, I was a little surprised though. Like I looked at the stats, I'm like, shit, I didn't realize the Colts are doing this bad. I think some of it was on Joe Flacco having a bad game. Some of it was on the defense. But offensively, like this thing started, you know, not great for the Vikings. You got this horrible Sam Darnold interception. Like he's looking at 3 receivers, 3 options on this route in the red zone. 2 of them are Colts. And the first 2 reads are Colts guys who are going to catch the ball. He throws it there. He had Jordan Addison open on a crosser in the middle. I don't understand what Sam Darnold sees. And I don't want to talk about that. I want to get you guys' opinion on this. The punch to the face fumble, like I don't get it. I don't understand. Like after last week, the face mask, the turn his head backwards, no flag. Byron Young is going like this. Not a single Ram is celebrating. That's how that game ends. You think maybe there'd be some grace given to the Vikings on this one. Clearly punch in the face. A flag is thrown. Like, okay, it's coming back. The Colts guy takes the ball. No, we're not really worried about it. And then they pick the flag up. Like, why did we have replay assist? If you can't look at that, especially when the flag is thrown, like, can't they go and be, you know, he was punched in the face? I don't know. I'm curious. Do you guys know more about replay assist than I do? Because I was completely flabbergasted by this one.
I don't know. I think the refs overall this year have done a pretty horrible job with consistency, like being consistent. I saw that replay and I thought the same thing. I was kind of like, that's a flag, right? Like it looked high. It looked high to tackle a quarterback. Like I didn't see the exact punch, but I think the consistency has been definitely off.
Yeah. I don't know. Like if the flag is thrown, like I think then New York can look at it. Like that should be the rule. I don't know what the rules are with replay assist, but anyway, second half was much better. Like all of a sudden, you know, and that was the thing. That was the story going into this game. Vikings couldn't score beyond KOC's scripted plays. Like, oh yeah, great first quarter, second quarter's ass, third quarter he has no idea. We scored I don't think we scored a touchdown in the second half. I don't know if we got one against the Lions. It might have been defense. I think it had been like the Texans game last time we scored a touchdown in the second half of a ball game. They did it this week. They scored 3 touchdowns. And KOC, I love the fact he went for the dagger late in this one. He could have ran it, you know, and kicked the field goal and made this thing, a nail biter. But no, he throws at Josh Oliver, shows some balls. I appreciated that aspect. Justin Jefferson got going late. Cam Akers, we got to give Cam Akers some love. Aaron Jones had a great start. Then also, like a couple of times, he just got smacked on right at the line going for the first down. Just I give the Colts defense credit there. They absolutely just destroyed him a couple of times. But Cam Akers showed some life. I think Ty Chandler's never going to see another snap again this year unless someone else is hurt. Jordan Addison with a beautiful catch later. I know T.J. Hawkinson returned, and KLC, it was weird because he's like, oh yeah, he's full go, he got 33% of the offensive snaps. He barely was out there. It was the Josh Oliver game. No one saw that thing coming. So overall, I love the way we finished, hated the way we started. You get the win. That's all that matters. But now you look at this interior O-line. Blake Brandel got completely destroyed. Garrett Bradbury is who we always know he is. And Ed Ingram, he's really good at tripping his teammates. And he did it again with Garrett Bradbury on the one that Sam Darnold fumbled. And then Darnold, he throws some beautiful passes, just glorious. Like, oh my God, what a pass. And then he throws just the most boneheaded decisions you ever seen in your life. I talked about the first one. The second one was just as bad. Byron Murphy had just intercepted Joe Flacco in a horrible decision by Joe Flacco. Next play, Sam Darnold. Jordan Addison's wide open. And I think he was trying to force it to Jefferson on that one. Just, I don't get it. So we're going to live and die by Sam Darnold, but I know he had a good game. But those decisions he makes, I cannot find a reason for it. I don't know what he's thinking.
And man, I love him, Kevin O'Connell, man. I think it was him that was like, yo, we got full faith. Like, we're gonna be aggressive with this guy. And I can respect that because you're right. Like, even like when we're going into our game when we played you guys, it was like, man, there's some like I don't know really what the decision is here. But they don't pull back with Sam Darnold whatsoever. And it's like, hey, we got a high ceiling because of that. It feels like you made a point about Dallas Turner, though. It feels like he is coming along the last few weeks. Like, what's the trajectory right now with Dallas Turner?
I want to see more. Good things happen when he's out there. Like, we weren't getting any pressure, and all of a sudden Dallas Turner's out there. No, there's 15 right by the quarterback. Grenard's right there. The pressure started coming when he was starting to see some more snaps. So I want to see him. I know Van Ginkel's got a little bit, some kind of an injury here. I'm not sure if it was a wrist or an ankle. I just read the report. He's got something going on, but I want to see more of him. And why not? I mean, he's a guy you give a ton of draft capital to go up and get. Get him on the field. Take him on special teams. He's ass on special teams, but get him on defense. He's fantastic out there. We want to see more of 15 for sure.
Yeah, they showed him off a little bit. Like, look at that athlete dropping into coverage. Bass, what'd you see in this game?
Yeah, so although I picked the Vikings, I still have my faith in Joe Flacco. We've seen what he's done not only last year but in a couple games this year, and I thought he was the Colts' best option. But yeah, I take away that statement after this game. Although I'll say the game started, the Colts going up 7-0 with that fumble 6. We already talked about that. And then Lubbock, Reichert missed 2 kicks before the half, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the longer one, you're like, all right, he hasn't missed a kick all year. I think it was like a 54-yarder, and you're like, all right, it happens. He's got to miss one at some point, right? But then coming down, I'm sure that's when he got injured on the 54, because then to miss the next one, I think it was like a chip shot going off the upright. Once all that happened, I'm like, oh, it's going to be one of those games for the Vikings. And I was like, kind of like getting hyped for it. But then, the Vikings, got, yeah, well, yeah. In the second half, man, they put it together. And it was just such a resilient win for the Vikings because I thought the Colts were doing everything well, creating turnovers, stopping Aaron Jones, 3.0 average. I think they could have ran the ball more. 13 carries to Jonathan Taylor seems a little criminal. I don't care if it's 3.7 average. If you go into halftime holding the Vikings to 0 points, I feel like you should just continue to run the football. And then with the Colts, man, it just, if I was a Colts fan, I'd be so annoyed because it's like you drafted Richardson and you have issues with him and you're like, okay, Flacco is maybe our best option. And you go into this game and it looks even worse. I mean, I'll say this, and I'll finish on this. One of the last drives for the Colts, man, they were 3rd and 2. It was right after like an 8-yard run, I think, by Jonathan Taylor. Then they take Jonathan Taylor off the field for whatever reason on 3rd and 2. I think it's like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And they do a play action to Trey Sermon, and Flacco has Sermon wide open for the check down, for easy first down. And he tries to like thread the needle to Michael Pittman, and Harrison Smith just like lights his ass up, right? And I'm like, all right, that was a bad call, but you still got 4th and 2. Bring Taylor on, maybe run for Taylor, still doesn't come on. They run another play, and Flacco tries to thread the needle yet again deep down the field. And Harrison Smith lights his ass up yet again. I'm like, all right, I'm done. I clicked off the stream. I was like, I'm done. The Vikings, very resilient there in the second half to get a dub against Indianapolis. It should have been, honestly, a bigger of a deficit than that. They should have won by a lot more. But hey, a win is a win. It's a good, resilient win.
100%.
That's good points, man. It's good points, man. That did feel big. You're right. I forgot about the 2 missed field goals, and it's like, they didn't have anything going their way. It felt like in that first half, to your point. And then the whole second half felt like it was Minnesota's owned the game. Nick, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, man. I mean, when I saw Joe Flacco, I was like, oh, the NFC North killer. This guy just comes in and just finds ways to be playing games. And I'm not saying the Colts played bad. I think they made the right decision going with Joe Flacco. It seemed like there was a little bit more like energy when he was out there. Like players were playing a little bit harder. They just looked more in sync. And obviously that's what you have when a veteran quarterback who's won a Super Bowl's out there. I was shocked though by how Sam Darnold played at moments in this game. And Lepagus, like, please, tell me if I'm wrong here, but it was the second half. It wasn't the fourth quarter. He like threw that interception that it was towards Justin Jefferson. And I was like, dude, he had 3 guys around him. I know Justin Jefferson's a fantastic athlete, but you've been having a heck of a season, and quarterbacks that are having a season like you are don't make decisions like that. I'll be honest. That's what a Caleb Williams decision is, because he's a rookie quarterback and he's got no time. So I don't know. The Vikings, I was expecting them to, it was either going to go one way or the other. I know I chose the Colts to win this game, but if the Vikings were to be the Vikings that we know them to be this year, I was expecting them to be a lot more dominant. And I don't know. Obviously they got the job done. I still think their best game that they played in this year, even though it was a loss, was against the Detroit Lions. This game, though, I was kind of like, a little bit of rusty there. Luckily, it was the Colts, who aren't a very good ball club right now. But overall, Minnesota's defense is just so good. I'm so jealous. Shout out to Brian Flores for making that defense as good as they are. But yeah, it was a good game. It was a little closer than I thought, but a win's a win for Minnesota, and they're in second place.
Yeah, and it was weird. Jordan Addison's dad tweeted out there that even Stevie Wonder could have seen number 3 open there on that one. So I don't know. I try to put myself in Sam Darnold's shoes. Like, what is he thinking? Is he making his decision pre-read, like before the ball's even snapped? Like, I'm going here no matter what. That's the only thing I can think. Like, he's not reading the field. I mean, because Addison was wide open. I don't know. But we're gonna live and die by Sam Darnold. I'm glad they stuck with him. I'm glad they kept throwing the ball, because it is what it is. He's gonna have some great plays, and he's gonna have some really horrible plays, and hopefully those horrible plays don't kill us.
Man, and it feels like you can do that kind of too, because that defense is so good. It's like, hey, we could risk a mistake. Our defense can, play with a short field. So, okay, let's move over to the NFC North matchup of the week. It was Lions-Packers. Lions by 10. But this game was ugly as heck, man. I knew there was going to be rain, but you don't really – I feel like you don't know until you actually see it on TV. You're like, oh, this is ugly. Honestly, though, the craziest thing for me, Bass, we'll get into this, but for me it was all the talk about the weather. And as a Lions fan, we're always talking about the weather. The Packers struggled a lot more with the weather in this game. I think the Elton Jenkins injury tied along with Jordan Love going through what he was going through. The mess – they had 3 or 4 just disaster
Two
snaps,
in a row.
man. And,
2 in a row.
Yeah. It halted one of your possessions once you got inside the 20-yard line, and it was just the one you almost saved. He picked it up. The guy ran like
Emmanuel Wilson. Yeah, I was like, how did he get back to the line of scrimmage?
Bro's about to score on this, but no, man. This was an ugly football game. Look, we'll go right into it. Bass, what did you think about this game?
Yeah, it was an ugly football game on the Packers front. Like you said, we were all kind of, or at least Packers fans, were going into this game like, oh, we're the outdoor team, like Jared Goff, like I think it was his 3rd overall rain game, and we're like, maybe he'll have some issues, and credit where it's due. You guys had 0 issues moving the football. He made every throw he needed to. That first one to Amon or St. Brown, I thought was like an excellent throw. I really wish Keyshawn Nixon would have played that a little bit more. But yeah, man, overall just outplayed, and there's a lot of mistakes for the Green Bay Packers, and we're talking penalties. I think we had 10. There was that first one on the first kickoff that we didn't really get to see the replay of it, but it was like Keyshawn Nixon had a nice kick return up to the 40-yard line. He jumps out of bounds like over a trainer kind of, and there's just like a flag thrown. I was like, what is that? I further realized earlier this week I saw a video. He kind of like put his hand under someone's face mask. Just another boneheaded play by Keyshawn Nixon. It's like, if you make a play, make the play, right? Don't go and just, unsportsmanlike conduct right after that and completely remove the return you just had. It's stupid. Outside of that, we had 6 drops. We had Tucker Kraft drop a 3rd down early on in this game. That was crucial, that we needed to go down and score. It was a quick out route on 3rd and 5, and he just straight up dropped it, and it was rain, but it's like, how much can you blame the rain when you see the other team not have a single drop? Did you guys have a single drop?
No,
exactly. I don't believe you did. So it's like, how much can you actually blame on that? It's just the lack of execution. You have, I believe there's a Christian Watson drop, and maybe a Romeo Doubs drop. There was the Dontavian Wicks late in the game. We started on 2nd and 1. I think it was inside your 15-yard line, 10-yard line. 2nd and 1, we run a pass play. 3rd and 1, we run that pass play yet again. It's a boot right, and he finds Wicks over the middle of the end zone wide open, and he drops it. It's like, how many times does this keep happening? Wicks has had drop issues all season. He consistently gets open. He's like the best ever at getting open, but he's also like the worst ever at catching the football. It's a weird like thought process to have. You're like, I love that he keeps getting wide open, but he can't catch the damn football. Play calls were iffy, like I just said, on that red zone trip. 2nd and 1, pass the ball. 3rd and 1, pass the ball. Then it's 4th and 1, and we're like, well, yeah, now they know we're going to run the football, and you guys stuff us for no gain there. So I think play calling was iffy by Matt LaFleur. And early on, my thought process on this game was the way you could beat the Detroit Lions is by, keeping the ball in your hands, owning time of possession, keeping the ball out of the Detroit Lions' hands, the number 1 offense in the NFL. And I thought the Packers did an excellent job of that in the first drive. It didn't result in a touchdown due to some more penalties there, but I thought they did really well with Josh Jacobs. And I was mentioning this to you, Dion, on the live stream we did last week. A lot of people clamor Detroit as a great run defense. And they're really not in terms of yards per carry. It's just the fact that they get up early and often, which they did yet again in this game, where teams start to abandon the run. They have to start to pass to get back into the game, and they can't really keep utilizing that run game. I thought Josh Jacobs was doing an excellent job. He finished 13 carries, 95 yards, 7.3 average, and that's with a different rotation of linemen on that O-line without Josh Myers, which I think favors more of a running attack, with Elton Jenkins at center, Jordan Morgan at left guard, Sean Ryan at right guard. In terms of the receiving aspect, Jaden Reed, it was nice to see him get a bounce back game, 5 for 113. I think he had 3 separate plays that are like 25 plus yards. And I also obviously want to talk about Jordan Love. I mean, I said this in my preview. Like, I want to see Jordan Love if he's healthy, but if he's hobbling around out there, I don't want to see it. And not that he started up really hobble until right before half when we tried to go down and get some points there. But what they did on this first drive, and this just reminds me so much of the Aaron Rodgers times when he hurt his calf, they opened up in pistol, 3 straight plays. When you run pistol so much, it's because you're not comfortable with the mobility of your quarterback. You're not comfortable with him being under center, having the mobility to complete every handoff correctly. So pistol, you kind of just stand there, do his thing, whatnot, make his correct read. So that gave me like a bad feeling. And I was like, well, he's clear. Not that we expected him to be 100%, but I was like, clearly he's going to handcuff this offense. Matt LaFleur does not like pistol that much that they were running it on that first drive. Luckily, the running attack was working well, but we talked about this, Deanna. It was like, would you rather see Malik Willis or Jordan Love, depending on what it was? And I think it was you or Easy that said you'd rather see Jordan Love if he was hurt than Malik Willis, just based on what they would do. So I'm interested to get your take on that. But overall, the Packers 1-4 in the red zone. That's not going to cut it at all. You guys played really sound football. You didn't turn it over. Super efficient for Jared Goff yet again. I think 18 of 22. A touchdown, $145, 109.3 rating. I knew the running game for the Lions was going to be a problem, and it definitely was. We couldn't tackle for shit out there. David Montgomery, a hard runner to bring down. Jahmyr Gibbs, I expected more out of him, honestly. Like, as well as he did, 11 for 65, 5.9 average, I definitely expected more out of him. But Montgomery's kind of that guy that you guys play against us more. Like, he's kind of the guy you play against the Packers because they have trouble tackling him. Every single game you guys play us, and even against the Bears, they have trouble tackling him. So, yeah, it was a really rough game for the Green Bay Packers. It's week 9 in the NFL season. You guys did something very similar to us, early last season. There's a lot of football left to be played. We're still 6-3. At this time last year, we were 3-6. So, it's still a lot of football left to be played. If the season was won in week 9, we'd have a lot of different results in terms of Super Bowl winners. So, a lot of season left to be played. I'm going to take, this bye week, and hopefully the Packers can rebuild like what their mistakes are, try to fix on those with the penalties, the drops, and all of that, and also get healthier with Jair, Evan Williams, that were both out of this game.
Yeah, I hope Nick is listening to that last point there, man. I don't know. I mean, there's still belief, man. I mean, it's all right. We're good. Hey, look, no, for me, like the quarterback thing, I think coming into it, I was like, I'd rather see Malik because I thought Jordan Love was much more dangerous. But then I definitely underestimated what the weather was going to look like. And when the game's kind of going, you're like, oh, if Malik was out here, this would probably be a much bigger challenge because this game felt like kind of everything added up into this is a disaster for the Packers. This is just not the game that they wanted to play. Not only was the weather bad, you fall down 21 points in this game. Now you're forced to throw the football, and then he can't come down and like grab snaps. Like, and I thought on top of that, like even though they had a run under center, I thought it also led to, in just my opinion, maybe they didn't feel this way, just a little bit more predictability when you went under center. Like, oh, it's probably play action in the spot because they were running so much more pistol that it felt like there was a little bit more of that. For me, the run defense thing we definitely miss having Hutchinson, and especially in this game, we miss having Pascal and Wingo of anybody at the edge. I mean, our edge position, we were asking James Houston to handle some of that, and this is a disaster. Your guys' is one touch. I mean, it just got mauled. We just missed those guys. Like Za'Darius was. As much as the pass rush is a discussion, and it is, but my goodness, bro, we need someone that can play the run. I mean, I'm watching this like, yo, their tight ends are blocking our edge rushers like out of the play. This is a disaster. So there's that aspect. For me, it was the fact that the Lions were able to go in with the weather concerns, and they were able to, I think, get it to the most simplest form that they could. Like last year when we played you guys on Thanksgiving and we lost, we were basically in the same exact hole that you guys were in that game. The difference was there was no weather conditions. We were in the same hole. We fell down. We tried to fake punt, and it was a mess, and all of a sudden we're playing catch-up. And I thought for the Lions, there was never a situation in this game where it was like, they probably have to throw it here. There were just never felt like there was that, even, because then they were up so big, it was like, even if it's 3rd and 6, like, they still could probably run it. You know what I mean? There just never felt like that they're in that spot. And the fact that after that first drive, they were able to find the first down passing, which I thought would be the best way to try to simplify. Because here's the thing about Green Bay, and I think I found the right words for me to describe. I always give credit to your secondary, and you guys were banged up. Not having Jair was huge. I didn't expect that. Not having Evan Williams was big as well. It's like, did not see either of those two that was going to be the case. But when I watch Green Bay, I think it's the fact that they don't, at least for when we play them, I don't feel like they break down necessarily. Like you're not going to get like, man, this guy broke down in coverage. Now this guy's wide open. That's how you got us. Like, you're going to have to earn it. And I thought without Jair and Evan Williams, we had better opportunities to earn it. We saw Laporte go get it. We saw guys that could just go win. They made Khalif beat us. I didn't think we had to let Khalif kind of find wins, even when he didn't get the football. And I didn't think Jared Goff played that well. Like, as a Goff guy, I didn't think this was a very good game for Goff. The weather has a lot to do with it, but it was just because of the situation, because you had the pick six. And let me ask you about that real quick. The pick six, right? I mean, that's the discussion. I love the little wrinkle from the Lions to be able to get on your left guard, right, who's not paying attention, and have Alex show that he's dropping, then he blitzes on the play. Like, I love the wrinkle there. But Aaron Glenn was throwing stuff out there right before half that I was like, I've never even seen him do this stuff pre-snap. Like, he's making this look way different than what I've seen. That pick six felt like it immediately was like, oh, this game might be over. Like, immediately.
Yeah,
Is that what your take was?
Yeah, 100%. And I did my film review today, so I was watching all the plays, like all 22, and I was watching it, and I was trying to just go through it, like, okay, what was Jordan Love seeing? Because clearly this year, the process has been a little bit of an issue in terms of him just kind of making some dumb decisions, and this was another one. I mean, he rolls right, he extends the play, because I think you guys, I don't know what exact coverage you're in. I believe it was man coverage or some type of match zone or something, but yeah, on that. But he rolled right, and Josh Jacobs off the rip was set to pass protect. So he started to roll right. Then Josh Jacobs gets off that pass protection to try to go out for a security blanket for Jordan Love. And that's when he looks up and he sees Josh Jacobs raise his hand in the film. Josh Jacobs is like, yo, toss it up. Like, I'm right here. It's only a 5-yard pass. So Jordan Love does that. And he just kind of puts a little float on it. And Kirby Joseph does an excellent job of just scraping right off that block. Kind of like, oh, I'm engaged in a block. Like, I'm not part of this. Boom. And then he's up. He's right up and up. Right? Excellent bait into that throw. Even saying that, even if Kirby Joseph didn't and he wasn't there, I watched the film, and it was one of your linebackers, it might have been Anzalone or Jack Campbell. He would have tackled Jacobs for like a 7-yard loss. Like, it wouldn't even have netted anything great. So that's when you're like, dude, just throw it out of bounds, live to play another down, right? And that's been a thing for the Packers, where we're sitting here going, like, why did you make that decision? I don't know if the injury's playing with him that much. Obviously, that's a mental thing, but I also think he doesn't have the same ability in terms of scramble ability, in terms of mobility, right? Like, I think things change. I was actually making a compilation of some of his tight window throws in 2023, and I was like, he looks so much faster than what I'm seeing right now. Like, he just looks so much faster breaking out of the pocket, scrambling, extending plays. So it definitely plays a toll, and I'm hoping he can finally get healthy.
So just the quick side note, I did notice a lot more match coverage, and the thing is like, we hadn't been doing that much this season, so it was just cool to see some of those wrinkles. It's like, okay, we have something different, and you guys got us a couple times on it. When you got Brandon Joseph, you got covering your slot, and it was like, yeah, that's probably going to be an issue. And then you could just see the fact that we just weren't getting edge rusher on a couple of those shots. I gotta give it just one guy in the comments said I'm golf phobic. Hey, I mean, I've never heard anything near that before. I think it's crazy. If anything, people say I'm like too much of a golf kind of guy. Here's why I say this, just to make it clear. Here's why I didn't think he played great. First off, you guys know I think Goff is a dog, so I have high expectations. But it's mainly like it was the misses. I mean, he missed Gibbs on a wheel route. He missed the read on a third down where he tries to check it down and throws it to nobody to Laporta. Like, I just have a higher bar that I set for Goff. Yeah, he took care of the football. He did what he was supposed to do in this game because we were winning. He played the game he was supposed to. But Goff could have done more. He could have been better in this game, in my opinion. There was more that he left out there. Didn't play bad. He just could have been better. All right. I want to keep moving, though. Nick, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, like, in Green Bay, I know that a couple years ago, week 18 it was, when Detroit beat the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. That was like, okay, there's a lot of Lions fans that travel well over to the other side of Lake Michigan. And sure enough, they did it again. I mean, when I was watching that game, I was like, wow, that is a lot of Detroit silver and blue in that stands. And the
Can I chime in on that for 1 second?
Yeah,
so the Packers have gold package games. So it's a package that's offered to I believe original the old Packer Stadium in Milwaukee. So they still have the availability to buy tickets or have season tickets. So a lot of the gold package games are inherently a lot of opposing fans because those people just sell their tickets to anyone. So that tends to be the case. But I will agree, you guys do travel well. I'm just saying that was a gold package game, and that's been a reoccurring theme. That's been a reoccurring theme for the Packers, is that these gold package games, like, there's so many opposing fans, way more than the regular package.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why I was kind of shocked because I didn't know that part of it. But I was like, wow, usually Green Bay does, like, you see Bears fans in there when the Bears play in Lambeau, but because that's obviously expected. But I was like, man, that's a lot of blue. The energy was high for the Lions, though, and even though it wasn't the, like, insanely, I don't think it was like an insane high power offense like you saw against the Tennessee Titans, 50 plus points. You know, they still showed that they're the best team in the NFC North. I mean, Green Bay really just couldn't get anything going against them at points. The defense definitely looked a little out of step. Baz, I think that it was a good thing that you guys traded Preston Smith because he just doesn't look like his old self anymore out there. I know the last 3 years, 8 or more sacks. He's only had 2.5 this year. And I think that kind of was a nail in the coffin game if he could have been a big factor against the Lions and made something happen. So I think it was the right move for him to move on from there. But yeah, I thought that there was some less classy moves by both fan bases during this game. I think that it's the best rivalry in the NFC North right now. To be honest with you guys, I don't think it's Minnesota or Detroit. Like, even when that last game, I think it's Green Bay, Detroit. Those every single time, I feel like the last couple of years, it's just helmet to helmet. It goes to intense to the very end, no matter the score. So I think the Lions did a really good job. They keep just finding ways to take on different teams that are really good in other different ways, and they're just still dominating in these games. So this game right here for me kind of put, like, okay, the Lions have a legitimate shot to be the NFC representative in the Super Bowl this year. Like, that was the game that I thought, I was like, yep, this is it, especially going into Lambeau, somewhere super tough for opponents. Yeah, the rest of the Packers team, I thought that I felt like the game plan was a little bit different. I felt that they could have been a little bit more attacking on offense, Baz. Maybe you can speak something more to that. I felt like it was a little bit conservative on that. And I know last week I talked about, I felt Matt LaFleur looked a little uncomfortable in the previous game, and he looked uncomfortable again here today. So not really sure what was going on there, but that's kind of what I saw from this game. Baz, I don't know if you want to say anything.
Oh, yeah. I know I can. I was like, Lupicus has been sitting here. He's been sitting here for like 25 minutes. He's like,
I'm dying. I was gonna pee again.
Honestly, I think he could have been more. He could have been more conservative. I feel like honestly, the run game was going strong, and obviously, when you go down by a certain amount of points, you're like, all right, I got to pass. But there are certain situations where I think he could have kept leaning into Josh Jacobs. It was like in the second quarter. There's a couple plays. I think the Packers passed it on like a bunch of first downs in the second quarter. I'm like, why are we doing this? We have Josh Jacobs in the first half averaging 9.8 per carry. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, hand the ball off to Josh Jacobs. So I think sometimes Matt LaFleur gets in his own head a little bit, and he thinks like, he like over outsmarts himself a little bit, I guess, where he's like, the run game's been working, they're gonna stop that now, so let me run something like play action or shot play, like a slot fade against cover one, but throw it to the safety side. I'm like, what are we doing here? So there's a couple times where I honestly think he could have been more conservative.
Oh, all right. Two different looks.
We don't want Lupicus going to the bathroom on stream, man. Let's get it to him.
Not again.
He already did earlier.
Not twice.
It was louder than I thought it was going to be. So my take on the game is pretty simple. Like, You got two teams playing in bad elements. One team looked like they'd never played in the rain before. They didn't know what the hell was. Why are they wet? They didn't know. You got bad snaps. You can't catch the ball. You can't hold on to it. The other team handled it like a fucking champion. I mean, they were just had no problems with it at all. So to me, that's a big factor. And you guys already mentioned, like, I felt this game was decided after that the interception late in the first half. Like, it was over then. And all of a sudden, Jordan Love is like, oh, he's hurt after the interception. And he starts hollering really bad after that. So that was a little bit sketchy to me. Here's the thing. The Lions, I can't call them the class of the NFC North, the class of the NFC, because they're not a classy team. But they're a very good team. And when you have a very good team, a Super Bowl contender coming to your house, you can't make those mistakes. You can't fumble snaps. You can't throw pick sixes at the end of a half. You're going to get beat every single time. The Lions are that good. You can't have those mistakes. The other side of this is Lions know how to win football games. They were good last year. They know how to close teams out. They did this in the second half of this game. They did it against us. That is a team that knows how to win, and they proved it again on Sunday.
All right. Well, hey, man, before we keep it moving, because remember, check us out Friday. We're going to have our previews for this upcoming week's games. Before we do that, I want to give one last shout out to BetUS, man. And I want to do this a little bit different just because I don't think we've done this over here, and I think this would be kind of fun. I'm sure this is going to not go in a fun way. This is probably just going to be awful. But if we say, like, let's go through these ones. So we got Minnesota, Jacksonville. Nick, the spread is plus 4.5 for Jacksonville. Who are you taking at that line right now?
Minnesota.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. All right, let's go to the next one. We don't have the Packers. Okay, you know what? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to Lumpicus with this.
Yeah.
Lions, Texans, primetime, 3.5 points. What do you like?
I'm struggling on this one because as good as the Lions are playing right now, like these Sunday night games always favors the home team. I still think the Lions win. I'm gonna take the Lions.
Okay.
It's rolling. They're rolling.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's a good pick. You can't go wrong there. And then, so we didn't do the Bears, right? Where are the Bears at?
Yeah.
Where are the Bears at, man?
Where are they ever at?
Hey, how you doing?
There we are.
Right
All
there,
right,
right
Bass, bring it home, man. Patriots, Chicago, 6-point spread is kind of crazy.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more Friday, but I cannot wholeheartedly choose the Patriots. I don't like a single thing they're doing, other than maybe a couple throws like Drake May has been making. It's -6 Chicago for me. Home game, like Nick says, was it 21 straight?
Yeah.
Was it 21? 21
Nine straight.
That's it. Okay. Well, I kind of
wish
overhyped you a little
21
bit.
straight.
Kind of overhyped you a little bit, but I'll still take the -6.
Hey, love it. Thanks, man.
All right, man. Code YouTube 150, 150% deposit match on your first deposit, 125% on your next 2 deposits with that code YouTube 150, man. Go check out BetUS. Just sign up. Just make it account. Okay? Great customer service. That's what I always say. They got great customer service, man. My thing's always going ding in my ear because they're always messaging me stuff. We appreciate y'all for joining. Join us again on Friday for our previews. Any last words around the table, Lubbicus? You got anything?
No, I feel really good with Vikings going into Jacksonville next week. Even with a very huge question mark at kicker and long snapper, Brian Flores has done very well against young quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence still young; he's injured. I think we're gonna feast. I think it's not gonna be close.
Okay, Nick, what do you got?
You know what? The rumor has it that if Matt Eberflus does lose to the New England Patriots, he'll get fired. No matter the outcome, I'll be happy this upcoming Sunday. That's all I'm going to say.
Wow.
Man, that feels like an unfortunate spot to be. Baz, what do you got, man?
I like bye weeks, man, just because you get so involved in your own team throughout the week and the weekend, and this weekend I just get to sit back and watch football. I don't see it happening, but I hope every other NFC North team loses, but I don't see that happening.
Wow.
All right, man. Appreciate y'all joining. We'll see you guys on Friday, and hit the subscribe button.